Kakangu Riziki. Jambo.
Jambo wambaje.
Nakuona.
Uko vyema.
Nashukuru sana. Najua Kiswahili kigumu kidogo. Nasikia wanasema karibu sisi tumetuala.
Cha kupiga chenga.
Good to see you, my brother.
Good to see you, bro.
How are you doing? Fine.
Congratulations for setting up this, and you began as a joke probably from Radio Jambo. You are a resident analyst for some time, and you liked your views, you liked your past, then now we are here, so congratulations.
I really appreciate it. You're just trying to build up something.
Most of a young person, it's a great honor. Yes.
Nashukuru sana bana, kumbe umenifuata tangu Radio Jambo kule.
Yes.
I still have programs at Radio Jambo though.
Okay. I hope it's not against the policy of trial media.
Hii ni Nairobi bwana. Nairobi ni shamba la mawe.
Unachenga huku na huku, lazima
ukubali kucheka, lazima upange kazi. Ninashukuru kukuona.
Pleasure, bro.
All right, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the viewers. The tacklers, this is your first time on the tackle.
Yes. This is my first time. By name, I'm DUSTAN RIZIKI. I'm a lawyer by profession. And I'm a businessman at the moment. I also try to engage in issues of governance and policy at consultancy level. At the moment, why I'm here is because of young people came together to really champion or chaperone a particular idea. And the idea is formation of a national party by the name National Reconstruction. I heard you saying restoration.
It's reconstruction.
I think restoration is
one and the same.
Is one the same, but reconstruction really means something different in essence. Probably that is the basic introduction as per this discourse. I probably want to really focus on why young people ought to come together. Young people ought to come together because they've been told they're leaders of tomorrow, but their tomorrow seems to be a mirage.
Someone sang, tomorrow never comes.
Tomorrow never comes. And what really what motivates us is basically, why can't we be the leaders of today? And if we are the leaders of today, we are trying to change the narrative. Can we focus on issues and not focus on the political rhetoric and all that? Can we focus on policy? Can we focus on agenda? And probably that should be the discourse that really guides our thinking, guides our agenda as a political organization. It's a basic introduction. Probably as we move on, we'll be able to delve into the nitty-gritties and be able to digest what formation of a political party is all about. As a political party, we pride ourselves in having 41 offices across the country.
Interesting.
From basically Lamu to Turkana, Nyeri, to Namanga. We look at it as an achievement in a way, because we want to reach the grassroots, and the people who really build the party are basically the people on the grassroots. We want to focus that our party shall not be what we call a briefcase party in the leafy suburbs of Nairobi or whatever place, but they shall have the party shall have structures, and decision making shall be made at the party level, also at the grassroots level. That is our thinking. And the thinking is that probably the agenda of the party shall be determined by the needs of the people at the grassroots level. As a country, we are going through tough moments in terms of, our economy has shrunk, it's not growing, there are no jobs, poverty is something we cannot really talk about. We think as a party we have to really focus on that. Focus on poverty, focus on employment, and as a party probably mainstreaming the issues of youth, women, and people with disability. We want to believe that these are people that already encompass over 80% of our population. And at the same time, we appreciate the role and the purpose of our seniors. But I believe that as we champion the involvement of those three people in terms of the mainstreaming of their agendas, I believe we will be in better place if we have an employment for our people, if we have just creating industries, mainstreaming agriculture, creating the service industry, making it work, creating jobs for our people. I think if we can achieve that, then we'll be in a position to really wake up and say that probably we are doing well as a country, and as a party we'll be alive to the purpose of what we really intend to. So reconstruction is basically founded on the ideals that there's something that our forefathers had. There's a dream that our forefathers had. If you sing the national anthem, you will see it. And if you can remember, Gerald, about the French Revolution, the American Revolution, all that, at all times you will see that the French Revolution talked about égalité, fraternité, liberté, equity, justice, and liberty. Because actually, if a study of the French Revolution is really the foundation of the political liberation in Africa, because we are thinking about how can we liberate ourselves from political oppression, the imperialism, and all that. But we know we have been singing about this most as a country. Deep down, every election cycle, we are talking about political liberation. But as a party, we are thinking that probably we should forget about political liberation and think about economic emancipation. Therefore, our policies, our agenda is about how best can we emancipate the majority of us from, the slavery that we've been put in by either by political, oligarchs and all that, or by the policies that really do not really advocate for things that affect the majority of us. I think, Gerald, that's...
Right. So how old is National Reconstruction Party? Just before I say restoration again.
I think restoration, probably you're a good reader of the Bible. And I know that's very also good. National Reconstruction Alliance is basically 2 weeks old.
2 weeks old.
2 weeks old in terms of receiving a certificate, if that is the modus operandi of really looking at how old it is. But the process of registering a party in this country has now been very tight. Probably you might remember, or might not have the privilege of remembering, that since 2017 they have only registered 5 parties, because there are stringent mechanisms and procedures of registering a party. The Amendment to Political Parties Act has made it very difficult, or made it very stringent, that only serious people can register one. I'll give you an example. The service part, I'll name, for example, the last 5 years, which parties have been registered and probably who are the people behind those parties. We have Civic Renewal Party by Mwangi Wairia, the governor of Muranga. We have TSP by the governor of the former CSS Agriculture, Mwangi Kiunjuri. We have UGM, United Green Movement by Agostino Neto. We have
Agostino Neto is still around.
He's still around. He's still around. We have Nopeu, National Ordinary Empowerment Movement
by
Mpuri Aburi. If you look at the caliber of those people, we are nowhere. Some of us probably, majority of us are new, but what you're bringing on the table is not our names. What you're bringing on the table, Gerald, is the idea and the content that we want to contribute to our national discourse.
But the question is, Riziki,
yes.
Like you've said, there are thousands and thousands of parties in Kenya. And I was even seeing on yesterday's headlines, the rush for new parties. What's different? Why is it that in Kenya we're so obsessed about parties?
I don't think people are obsessed
What's the difference? What's the difference with restoration?
I don't...
Or reconstruction. Reconstruction.
Reconstruction.
I need to write it somewhere. Reconstruction.
I think what motivates joining a party or founding a party should be the philosophy, the agenda, and the ideology. If you don't feel that you fit in either of those categories in whichever party that you think you really ascribe to, then you have the liberty and the political right, for that matter, to go and found another party for that. For those reasons. And when you found those parties, let's not just do the same thing that probably our forefathers have done. Why can't you create a different perspective towards politics? We have been believing in politics of personalities. That's why you'll see people every other day shifting with the personalities. Yeah. We are not interested in personalities. You'll see somebody waking up in the morning, and when I mention the parties I've been mentioning about personalities. If you're very careful, Gerald. Yeah. But our motivation is not about personalities. Our motivation is about ideas. So we want to believe and hope that probably our ideas are what motivates us, the reasons why we're motivated to form a National Reconstruction Alliance, NRA.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you feel now that we have a different party in the name of NRA, we're going to see a different kind of politics in this country. Who are your members, and what do you want to achieve at the end of the day? What's that different test that you want to bring into Kenyan politics as NRA?
We want to. Our politics has been intoxicated for so long. We want to believe that NRA as a fresh kid on the block will be able to really mainstream two things. Mainstream the active involvement of youths, women, and people with disability in politics. When I talk about mainstreaming, Gerald, I look at it from this different perspective. We want to give youths a chance, not to suffocate them. We want to give women a chance, not to suffocate them. Something else, we also want to think about, constructively, how best can we involve youths have ideas, but in other parties, the place and the role of the youths is really at the youth league.
It's negligent. Mm-hmm.
Is at the youth league. Okay. Majority of them have been reduced to basically bloggers, people who the other people will only look at them as noisemakers. But we want to give these young people a chance to share their ideas, share their way of thinking, share their innovations in terms of our political growth, and be able to contribute positively in our political trajectory as a country. The other area is, the issues of finance has been a major, blow in our political, the monetization of our politics. The politics has been monetized to an extent that to be given a chance to contest, then you have to buy, loyalty to individuals. And that's why as a party, we are killing the personalities, but creating a movement of young people, movement of Kenyans, old and and young. But our motivation is at the end of the day, give this young person a chance, give this old person a chance. If he can mainstream the idea and the agenda of the youth, then give them a chance. Let them be on the table. Let their ideas rule rather than personalities. The issues of money, we are thinking widely. Why is it that we don't have, our politics has been monopolized to that extent? Probably it is time to change the narrative, bring the ideas on the table. Let us debate on ideas. Let us share ideas as a people. Probably think differently. Look at the issues. If you remind a young person probably today that he's poor because of policies, then probably he'll be able to understand why he needs to actively participate in policy formulation of this country. If you remind a young person that is suffering because of unemployment, because his vote has been bought and he has not been given a chance to actively participate in governance and politics, it will be incumbent upon him to really actively now take a leading role to ensure that he actively participates in politics. Therefore, as a party, we look at economic emancipation as the foundation. Gerald, in the last election in Sweden, which I happened to really observe, was that the issues at the time of campaign, it's worrying more so in Kenya when you see a campaign rally on a Monday and the stadium is full, thousands of people. It only reflects one thing: the degree and the levels of unemployment, the degree and the levels of poverty. We want a situation whereby people can be able to come to such a forum, share ideas, and share debate on issues, and tell them this is our agenda as a party, and let the people decide, rather than having a conglomeration of people on a Monday, on a working day, on a Tuesday somebody else is having another rally, on a Wednesday somebody is having another rally, and all these rallies are full. We should question our consciousness and really ask ourselves what really ails us as a country. Is it time probably we retrospectively look at what really ails us? And Gerald, if you remember, our national anthem says, "Plenty shall be found within our borders."
Within our borders, yes.
Probably it's time to ask, 58 years after independence, is plenty found within our borders? Is it plenty found within our borders, or is plenty found for some individuals? That is the conversation we should look at. And rather than focusing on so much on political, liberation, you're talking about liberation, we have a constitution that has already probably offers us the legal and constitutional infrastructure to liberate our country. But right now, as a people, we think probably we should focus much on economic emancipation through right thinking, through right agenda, through setting the right trajectory in terms of agenda, more so in our political space, and ask the tough questions, ask our leaders, respectively and with our utmost decorum. What are you planning to do for us to create jobs? What are you planning to do for us? What are you planning to do for our industries? That is the kind of conversation we want. We shall, at the right time, Gerald, as a party, we're coming up with a manifesto, and we are coming up with a manifesto to share with our leaders, to share with the Kenyan public, so that these leaders, if you want to be part of us, you should first of all ascribe to our manifesto to be able to really, you don't come with your manifesto to us, because we are not in the business of following you without our plan. Therefore, we must first of all plan ourselves and ensure that we have an adequate, a succinct manifesto that is concrete with our agenda, which we are doing at the moment, and this manifesto shall be a guide, shall be a Bible in terms of engagement. Something else, Gerald, something that I probably have noted in our political scene. We are thinking that, why do people choose wrong leaders? And one of the reasons that we found out is lack of education. And when I talk about lack of education, I mean civic education for that matter. You can't be educated for that matter, but you don't understand what is leadership all about, most of political leadership. You ask somebody what is the role of an MCA, most of us have no clear clue. Just probably if you ask most of us, most of young people within Nairobi, or people within Nairobi, who is your local MCA at the county level? Majority of us have no clue. Reason being, we have not been able to understand the role of these leaders. So as NRA, we are thinking that probably one of the things that we shall really advocate for, and we are going to create, is National Reconstruction Alliance Leadership Training Institute. As a party, we shall do it probably start at the small level, in a way to really engage the public, not necessarily the members of NRA, but engage the entire public, educate them on the issues on who is a leader. That is one. And for those people who are probably thinking about vying in the party, they will be required to have a certificate to be trained on leadership. That is a priority that we shall really emphasize on, because we are not in a rush just to be popularized, but we want to create structures that today an MCA, an MP will understand his role and his mandate as such. And members of the public, for example, they'll be able to really tell that this is a good leader and this is a bad leader. I think that leadership conversation is where we also have a mismatch, that even the electorates do not understand the roles of leaders. The leaders themselves don't understand their roles. So as a party, against other principles, we want to approach politics from a different perspective. Approach it from the point of training, first of all, apart from point of civic education amongst the voters and the populace. Thereafter, translate that into that voting exercise.
All right, that's good. There's something you mentioned about young people and the fact that the only time they appear on the table is maybe on the menu. And the question, this is not the first party that is being registered by young people. A lot of young people have registered parties, but somehow they usually end up at the end of the day being properties of, or actually disappearing into the mainstream parties, or disappearing into the older politicians, armpits and all that. How can we ensure that young people can sustain a revolution? Because the changes in any country have been driven by young people. But in Kenya is on the reverse, because young people start parties. Look at Third Way Alliance, for instance. Third Way Alliance had come up as a serious ideal party in terms of it drove the voice of the people at that time, and it captured a lot of inspiration from young people who wanted to see a different kind of politics. A third way in politics, because you have the first and the second way.
Yes.
Most of the time is either you're in government or you're in opposition. And then again, now it came another angle of a third way, a Third Way Alliance and all that. But again, when you look at it, the same people who started the company have been used by the big politicians to actually disenfranchise the party. How do we ensure that young people actually are able to sustain the movement of ideas, like this, what we want to pursue, and they stick to it, and fail to play the music or the pipers, or the old politics?
First of all,
What plans do you have to actually go beyond that mortality?
I'll come to that. Probably as a person, I have been actively involved in politics, and I have a clear understanding of the agendas of most of the political parties. As a party, we are trying to think the best way, because the major issues in terms of running a political party is money. And we don't want a situation whereby we are beholden by other individuals who, because probably they come and give you some money, then you have to sing to their tunes. So to tackle the issues of loyalty and in terms of agenda, we are cracking our heads. How do we raise money to sustain a political party? That is one. How do we mainstream the agenda of the youth? That is two. Secondly, the issues of party loyalty in terms of the founders. The founders carry the dream of a political party. Anytime the founders shall be, in terms of they can be easily bought out, then that is the beginning of failure. Therefore, as a party, we believe that instead of begging for funds from politicians, which is an expectation from most politicians, we want to engage politicians as partners in terms of the agenda. Therefore, I think in terms of how we intend to run the party in terms of financing, in terms of agenda, we will be in a position and in a good position to run it, because we have done it before. We've done it before, probably under other people's armpits, but right now we are doing it on our own. We have the necessary experience, we have the necessary expertise, also in terms of finance raising. We have necessary experience in terms of agenda setting. We are not going to really be worried, don't be worried about how we shall raise finances, how we shall do that. We have the necessary expertise. We equally also have the necessary connections. We have just not woken up from the blues. It has taken time. Up to this moment, you have spent a good amount of money. So I think where we're heading to as a party is a clear plan. We have a strategic plan, and we're looking at a strategic plan of the next 10 years. Probably I will be 39 years then. We're looking at a strategic plan of the next 50 years. I'll be probably 79 years. I'll be like Raila probably, or thereabout. So in terms of thinking, we're not thinking short term. And we're not thinking about short-term gains also, because we have been approached equally by a number of presidential candidates, or they want to be presidential candidates. Their idea is to buy you. But they are not.
Did you just say wanna be?
They're not, the issues, I don't think we're motivated by money. The aspect of money in terms of our politics should be removed. And let our leaders also not look at young people, that the point of engagement is only about money. Come and engage us in our ideas, engage us in our plans, engage us because NRA, I want to believe it will be there we live in the next generation. It is not our party per se for this generation. When I talk about us, I don't mean this, I mean this generation. It is a party we believe we shall be able. And today we have more than 70 other parties. But I want to really assure you that NRA shall be there to stay. You will see it. You will see it. Many programs will come in terms of engagements, in terms of people-oriented programs. We're asking ourselves, what limits us? What has changed? That Tom Mboya at 29 years could send an airlift to UK, to the US and the UK, and Russia and all that. How come it's not happening now? Have those universities refused to admit airlift students? So we want to think in those dimensions. What really ails us is probably the greed that has been, engulfed our political space. If we're able to tackle the greed, if we're able to tackle our vision, then I can assure you the dream of Tom Mboya still lives on. So it's a journey.
There's a conversation that have always been given, and there's something you mentioned about connections, and most of the time when someone talks about connections, you imagine the guys again who are outside, the old folks, the same old folks in the game.
No.
Now there's an issue that have been mentioned about young people.
Yes.
And the fact that young people find it so difficult to work together, and you find that whenever something is started off by young people who have to come together, there's always a place where conflict comes in. Young people are seen to most of the time follow interest more than ideology, and it's widespread, and people have mentioned that. what do you feel is a challenge about young people coming together to push something? Because they always say, kujani kaeni pamoja so you can push it. But then again, you disintegrate and find that we're still getting sucked back into the old ways of doing things and chasing personal interest. What has been, have you experienced as a challenge in your party?
I think the issue of greed and short-term gains are what really divides the youth. What you see affecting the youth, or most youth-led organization, is most of the founders think in terms of short-term gains. They will think of, they'll see Gerald driving a V8. He'll also want to buy a V8, right? He does not know probably which other thing you're doing in life, that probably you're not, you are buying a V8. So I think what motivates us and what glues us together is that we agreed as a matter of principle that greed shall not be a founder, shall not be a cornerstone. That is one. We also agreed that politics shall not be our business. Politics shall not be our business. And majority of us at the party level, we've agreed that we must go out, work hard in all sectors, work hard in school, those who are in school, because some of our members are in school. We've also agreed that as a matter of principle that those in business should do their best, so that we don't look at party as a business. Party is about service. So if the guiding principle in terms of the founders and the members of the party, that this party is about service to the people, then the issue of greed and disintegration shall not arise. Because what we're engaged in, what we're interested in is, Gerald, as a party, we want to drill boreholes in Turkana. We have analyzed the political space. All parties are basically political vehicles. Our political parties actually empower us to do many things. Empowers us to really educate people in terms of civic education, empowers us to do. But all the parties just arise during electioneering time. They disappear from the scene. Even those with funding disappear from the scene, but just emerge from somewhere during election time. But we want to come up with concrete structures and concrete plans in terms of, for example, the child a lady in Turkana should be able to fill NRA, whether there is politics or no politics. She'll be able to have a borehole that has NRA, a borehole dug by NRA. She'll be able to a community engagement program. For example, the street rehabilitation program. Can't we engage the young people? When this young person grows up knowing that NRA helped him, for example, secure education at the street level, this person shall be extremely loyal to that party. I'll give another example. The issues that affect probably, I'll talk probably in terms of coast region, the issues of drug addiction. Why can't we, as a party, or any other party, why can't we engage in terms of giving a solution rather than waiting for the government to give a solution? And political parties, to me, basically should be, a government in waiting. That is our view or our perception about political parties. So, as a government in waiting, we must crack our heads, ensure that we have adequate means to get financing for some of the projects. But the major role of a political party as an institution is to engage the community and the people at the grassroots, give them solutions. The parties that engage people at election time are basically political vehicles. I want to believe, and our hope and prayer is that NRA shall not be a political vehicle. We are actually not so much interested in 2022. We are not so much interested in winning seats just for the sake of euphoria, but we are interested in creating an institution that shall provide good leadership, whether we're in power or not in power. We should be able to really help a sick guy in Masai to get medical attention. We should be able to get a number of students go to study in Norway. We should be able to get a number of students go to study in the US. We should be able to get a number of students go to get experience. We should be able to take a number of actually technical persons to go to Ethiopia, just our neighbor here. Ethiopia are learning how to, the leather industry has really grown to an extent that they're now producing good quality shoes. Why can't we as a party say that we want, as a party, before we even get into power, for that matter, that take a number of these Kenyan students who are probably party members to go and study how probably shoes are being done in Ethiopia. We want to also, a number of students go to Israel, a number of party members to go to Israel and study about agriculture as a party. These are the things that really motivates us. It's not about power, because because power is temporary. But if you really out to serve the community, there are various issues you can really pursue that you will be able to serve the community in truth and in good faith.
Wow. The things that you mentioned, one of them is that you talked about that your party is not about personalities, and I think that's quite impressive. And you said that it's not about positions and all that, it's about the ideology. And something else that you mentioned is that the challenge with working with young people, especially in politics, is that most young people look at politics as a source of bread. Like, acha tufungue chama ndio tuanze kukula, ama tufungue ndio tuanze kufanya hivi na hivi. I'll start with the first thing. So how do you structure your leadership within the party? If who holds the positions or whatever? You don't have positions?
No.
Or what do you mean when you say something about personalities?